All right, we're gonna be blathering on for a minute or two. If you wanna get right to the meat and potatoes of it, go to the timestamp below me here and start watching there. From here on out, if you're a guy who's a regular on the show, you'll enjoy what we're gonna be doing. The rest of you guys who are just looking to see how a fender fits and all that stuff, go here. That's where the information's at. So, why are we dressed the way we are when we're going to be seeing a scene in a minute when we're decidedly different? My hair is shorter.
My hair's longer.
You can never get that together. And I'm wearing this shirt instead of my traditional sleeve to hide my bursitis elbows from everyone, so people don't ask me why I have Muay Thai elbows. So, the reason for that is Cam needed a couple of weeks to work on a project that he's doing as a side thing for himself, which is
an 86 F350 service truck. Little 2,000-pound crane on it. Has a 16 or no.
How much did you get that thing for?
$1,500.
Yes, cheap enough.
351 was locked up. C6 was pretty dark, fluid, but $1,500. Body's only got one panel that's rusted on it. 2,000-pound crane, air compressor that I've gotten running. So comes with pretty much set up.
You're ready to go because, I mean, you're a trained diesel mechanic,
yeah.
And that's what you were doing before you started doing the diesel laptop stuff, and you just wanted to go and be able on the weekends pick up some extra work on
some side money.
Sunday evenings and Sunday afternoons because you're over here on Saturdays, so
yeah.
you better be over here on Saturdays.
Maybe. Might have scheduling
find
issues.
You. I will find you.
I
will burn your truck to the ground.
That's fine. I got 3 more that I can replace it with. I just need the body.
You can come over there one day and be like, where are my trucks?
You'll be paying a big tow bill.
I call Adam across the street.
Yeah, true.
Hey, buddy, I got an idea. Anyway, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be moving on from here. Going to be talking about putting the fender on, but before that, I have some information for you guys that you need to see on when you get this stuff in and all that. We're going to do that right now. All right, I'm going to say this. Things that you should do that I did not do with this particular fender, and that is to check it as soon as you get it off the truck. When he drives up and he drops and say, can you give me just a second to make sure this thing is okay? Now, the reason I say that is down on the side of this box, there is a spot where the skids went into the box at one point. Now that could mean one of two things. It could mean you have a damaged fender, you could be okay, it could be the part inside is totally trashed. But without opening that box up right away to know that, you're going to have a problem sending things back to whoever you get parts from. I don't care if it's our guys at National Parts Depot or wherever, you need to check it as soon as you get it. Make sure it's like Christmas. You know, go in and just like rip all the paper out, because as you saw when we took this thing out of here, National Parts does a great job of packing their stuff up. I've had better success with them than a lot of places I've ever done business with when it comes to big pieces like this, because they pack them very well. But take all of it out. Take the fender out. Open up the inside box. Make sure everything's there. Make sure it's the fender you ordered. That can happen sometimes too. Ask me how I know. So there you go. That's what you should do as soon as you get a fender in. Now I'm going to start talking about some of the things that you're going to find with a replacement fender. Oh, now I'm going to talk a little bit about what we got here on the top of the box. This is the driver's side fender that we got for the 67 Mustang that we were just working on. This is an incredibly nice piece. The steel is of a good thickness. One thing I will say about these fenders that I see coming out now is it seems like the edging on them is a lot sharper. For instance, this is not how I feel about everyone. I cut myself just pulling the fender apart, taking all the pasteboard boxing off of it and putting it together to set up here. I cut myself on the edges of the fender. I would even go in and dress the edges of it just simply so that you don't cut yourself to pieces trying to install the thing on the car. Take yourself a reamer, go down to Harbor Freight and buy one, ream the edges on this stuff so that you don't have those sharp inside cutters, because right now, right there is almost razor sharp on this particular fender. And I would just take the reamer and run it all the way around that inside edge, and particularly on the inside of the back side of this fender here. I hear a lot of guys complaining about fenders coming out from overseas, that they call it Chinese crap and all that. Honestly, this is a really nice piece. Now, even Ford had problem with fitment issues on fenders, because this 67, 68 Mustang fender, this beauty line right here, didn't match up with the door if everything was aligned the way it was supposed to be. It was actually off by about 1/8 of an inch in some instances that I've seen. A lot of the aftermarket fenders have now gone in and fixed that, so it's not an issue, but I have seen where guys have actually had to split the difference on both the door and the fender on stock original fenders in order to get them to fit nicely here. If you wanted to be technically correct, you should make it not fit right at all, because, you know, it didn't fit right from the factory. So, all right, I'm going to call Cam in here. We're going to talk about this for a second, but I mean, I've already covered most of it. So, Cam, we were worried about this thing when it came in.
Yes.
I mean, the end caps on the box that hold the fender itself were pretty cacked.
Both ends of the box looked like they'd been dropped.
Twice.
At some point, a fork went through the box.
I mean, yeah, it was bad, and we were really worried about it, but I
Yes.
mean, it came out pretty nice. The way they're packaging these things now.
Yeah, no, NPD uses a bunch of packing material. And I don't think there was any fault of NPD at all.
No,
It
I
was
think it's
shipping
just
company.
shipping.
Yeah.
And right now, I mean, you know, with
They're throwing stuff as fast as they can out of those trucks.
When we go, because we're right down the road from Southeast Freight Lines, which is who they use to bring stuff into this area. And man, those guys were stepping and fetching on the boards over there. They were busy when we got there. We waited 25 minutes to get the fender because it was all the way in the front of a truck. And they had 3 other trucks that they were bopping stuff back and forth between. So it was busy. So, but I'm telling you, man, sheet metal today.
No, sheet metal's come a long way. Even just from the 66 fenders that we put on my car, because those had to be worked, this all looks very
It looks
clean.
really, the 67.8 stuff is really, I think, probably a little bit better than some of the earlier 65.6 Mustang parts. The Falcon stuff, from what I understand, is supposed to fit pretty well as well. So I think sheet metal, and a lot of it's probably because of being able to do the scans that they can do now with the handheld scanners and all, to be able to take an original fender that's in really good shape, a new old stock one,
full CAD model of it.
get a full CAD model of it and break it apart that way. They do end up having to destroy the 67, the old fender, because they have to take it apart to get some of the inside scans
get
right.
all the braces and everything.
But I mean, golly, Pete.
Worth it in the end.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get a good aftermarket piece of sheet metal. This was right at $200 from NPD.
So cheap.
And you can't do the body work that cheap.
No, you couldn't put Bondo on it to fix it.
No, you couldn't. You couldn't. No, I mean, because consider most of the time the fenders and doors on these cars, doors especially on the Mustang side, almost always you're having problems at the inside corners of the doors.
Or it's bent along the back where doors open, smack stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, there's rust in the doors. By the time you get through trying to fix it, and you really can't, because the 67.8s have that graining in the metal.
Yeah, you can't.
You can't bring that back. I mean, a lot of times it's all gone on the top edge of the door from the acids in people's arms and stuff. And this is nice. It's nice to be able to get this good of material. All right, now, one of the first things you want to do is to realize that you have to put all your J-clips on the fenders that go on the fender. You have one down at this end of the fender that corresponds to this position right here. And when you put the fender on, what you want to do is to actually push the fender in this way. You want to install it toward that corner. It's got to drop right there. Are we on the back side of it? Yes, we are.
We are.
All right. All right, now I'm going to, there it is. Yeah. Now we're using these stainless fasteners from the guys at National Parts Depot inside the fender, because this is a modified car. He's not going to be leaving it stock. He's even talking about going in with a hot rod black on the outside, much like the color of this fender is right now. And so we want to do some aftermarket things. Now these are stainless and they're from National Parts Depot. We also have their normal fender bolt clip set that we're using on these as well, all brand new stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get one fender bolt in here just to start things off. Because we don't want the fender drifting on us while we're trying to install it. Now we're not going to be doing a full install here, folks. We're just going to be showing you that we can put the fender on here and it's going to fit okay. There's a couple of things that we're going to be working with that are going to be kind of an issue possibly. For instance, right now, what we've got going on is the fender looks like it's going to fit pretty well. It needs to come back toward the back of the car a little bit. I would shut the hood to check that for real. Now, I would probably go grab my trim tools to get this piece here out of the way a little bit. I think, looking at it, that this trim piece is probably down low on here, that it could probably be pushed up a little higher. Because right now, if I leave it the way it is, that's going to sit a little funky. I'm trying to get this to go over that corner. We're a little top on this right here. It's a little high here, which tells me we're probably a little bit out on the fender toward the front. You'll note that I'm wearing gloves as well. The reason I have these on is the fender edges on these newer fenders are very, very sharp and they will bite you. Know that anytime you put a fender on here, and I don't care if you're putting a fender on an original Ford fender or you're putting on an aftermarket fender, you're going to have body tweaks that are going to have to be made. I'm going to go ahead and get a wrench and tighten up this bolt here in position and check fit with the hood to see how far forward we are and if we're lining up on the hood. Because what generally happens is if a car's seen a minor accident like this one did with this fender, it impacts a lot of things on the car. The hood may be misaligned now. You may have other alignment issues. Fit is pretty good. There's a couple of things that are actually things that are going to need to possibly be worked, but overall, I'm liking the way this thing's sitting up on the car. All right, I'm going to get Cam to grab me a wrench, and I'll tighten this thing up. I got my shims close by. I got one of my stainless bolts here, and I'm going to drop onto the creeper to get underneath here. Because what happens is, a lot of times when you're working with these fenders, is positions will change once you start doing things underneath here. Yep, see, we've got something that I didn't even notice before is this end of the fender right here, probably in shipping and stuff, has been dropped in a little bit. I can now see a difference in where it's sitting. I'm going to have to probably put a piece of wood in here on this bottom section down here and do some prying out to get that to lay correctly. Because right now it's in a lot more than it should be. This is typical of these kind of things. Even if you buy used fenders, good used fenders from somewhere, you can run into these things. I've had this happen on my 67 Mustang Fastback when I did it. I had really good used fenders on the car because the fenders that were with it were trashed. And I had to actually work on those fenders in order to get them to fit correctly. So keep in mind when you're doing this that you may have to do some modifications even to good used stuff or even NOS stuff. It's been banging around in the United States for a long time. What I'm doing is I'm eyeballing this line right here to see if it's sitting where it should. I'm going to drop the hood. We're still way over. that's probably about the limit of motion, but the hood is also not sitting where it's supposed to be sitting. And what that just did is it actually moved this line into a better sitting position. Every movement you make on a fender is going to change something else on a fender. This hood's not sitting correctly, but Cam and I are going to go over that in the closeout to talk about what's going on there. If I look at the top of this thing, when you're siding a fender, you look at the line, and right now what's going on is the fender is actually in and out. The bottom back corner of the fender is in, and this part of the fender is out. So what we need to be able to do is to get that bottom corner to sit where it needs to sit. I also might open up the door and go ahead and set that bolt right there in just a second off camera, but there's the bolt that we've shown you in the past, taking this thing apart. Inside the door right here, that holds this upper position. Now that I've moved that front part of that fender in too, this up here is actually sitting fairly nice. It's pretty close. But that bottom, that may be a problem. Because it's in way further than I like to see them. Probably try to find a piece of wood and see if I can bring that out a little bit. To say this, but this just went right in the hole. The little bolt went right up in there like it's supposed to. It could probably, when we go to final, I would put a shim in it. Right now, trying to shim it up right now is pointless because I'm just going to drop the shim back out. I'm just going to tighten it up where it's at. And this is only to give you guys an example of what you can do just playing around with positioning. Now there's another bolt that's supposed to go right here, and that's what holds this position here. Another thing I would do with the shim, what a shim down here is going to do is it's going to drop this body line to where it matches up with the door a little bit better, because right now the fender has actually got a little bit of a pooch right here. You can see my fingers are actually contacting it. So what that tells me is I probably need to go down and work this a little bit more, maybe with some more hand pressure like I did before, and then this will also drop into position a little bit better. It's just a matter of going in and really working what you've got on the fender. I think this fender will end up sitting very well, but for right now, that's all we're going to do is we're just going to kind of put this in here so you can take a look at what we got and how nicely it fits comparatively. Because I will tell you right now that there can be hours sucked into trying to make these fenders fit the way they're supposed to fit, and a lot of times what happens is when you put a fender on, you have to adjust the door to the new fender. Like this one, the bottom edge of this door at the front is actually sitting in a little bit, plus there's a rust bubble coming up down there in the bottom corner.
Well, that looks remarkably better.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's improvement over the fender that was on here before, because that fender was capped really bad. There's a lot more that could be done here. I'm not going to do it in this episode. In a coming episode, we will be doing something with, setting up the fender and all that, but we've got other things to do. I really did this because we unboxed it. I wanted you guys to see the fender, but then also see that you can install the fender. You may have to do some small tweaks to it, but overall it's going to fit fine. I've said it just a minute ago, and I go back to it now. It doesn't matter. I don't give a crap what you buy. If you found a new old stock fender,
It can still fit like crap.
it can still fit like crap. The ones that I got that were used, the fender had actually been set or dropped or something, and this part of the fender, the bow of the fender was actually narrow. And I had to go in and put it on the ground and put pressure on it at the beauty line in order to get it to lay out the way it's supposed to be able to fit on the car. New old stock fenders can have the same problem. People say, oh, these things don't fit as good as the originals. Like I said when I was talking about the fenders originally on these cars, they don't fit.
Yeah.
They have a problem with the beauty line, and what's going on with this beauty line is as soon as I get that fender to roll out and lay the way it's supposed to with the shims,
The whole top of the fender.
the whole top of the fender will roll down and all the beauty lines will be right lined up. The other thing that we found was that the hood hinges in this thing are trashed.
Completely done.
They're completely done. So we'll probably do a video on replacing these with some nice looking aftermarket.
And they've got some upgraded ones now.
Oh man, there's some really pretty stuff out there. Anyway, so that's really all that is for this. What I want to talk to you about now is subscribing. I don't know why I've got these on still.
Safety first.
I just did it because I want to cut my fingers off. Subscribe to the channel. We're on our march to 100,000 subscribers. Come on. I mean, even if you don't watch the show ever again, it's just going to sit over there in your list on the side. If you want, ring the bell for notifications. You'll get notifications on when we're putting up brand new videos. We do videos twice a week. We do a Manic Mechanic Sunday or Tuesday, depending on how behind we are. And right now, brother, we are very behind. We're doing a lot around here on the studio space. So we're doing as much as we can when we can. Also, do me a favor and check out the Patreon account. At the $10 a month level, you get monthly meetings with me. Now, these guys that are either over here, or maybe they're going up right in front of my face right now. These guys have put their money where their mouth is, and they're actually supporting us and helping us to support the young people that come in here and work with us on Saturdays, and Andrew, who is now a part-time employee with the show on a weekday basis. He comes in here, and he and I will actually do video work on stuff. So it is going to a good cause. We're actually helping some of these young folks get into the film industry and into video work doing what we do. So it's a good cause to support. It also, you know, keeps Andrew out of rehab because apparently he's doing amaretto stingers and something now. I don't know.
He has problems. And it's not a project.
He really doesn't have a problem. He says he drinks, he goes to sleep. It's not a problem. Why are we talking about this?
I don't know what an alcoholic does too, but okay. But then they wake up, drink more,
blackout
go back
drunk.
to sleep. They think they're
Wake up, drink a little more, go back to sleep. It's a wonder anybody supports this channel. Some guy said, why aren't you on TV? This
Watch.
is why we're on
We'll show you.
All right, so that's it. That's all we're talking about. I don't know why I even went as long as we did. You guys be kind to each other, loving each other, treat each other nice. You have a great week, and we'll see you next time on Autorestomod. I had that moment where I couldn't remember if we were doing a Manic Mechanic or an Autorestomod, even though I'm leaning on a fender on a 67 Mustang with parts from National Parts Depot.
And we've already said it a couple times.
Said it thousands of times already.
And we're wearing this shirt.
And we're wearing this shirt.
Look down, Jeff.
I just, probably Alzheimer's or something. I definitely have Sometimes now. Sometimes I can remember and sometimes
I got that
can't.
too.
God, at your age?
Yeah.
Well, I saw that drinking you
tragic.
do. You and Andrew hanging out getting.
Yeah. That's why I'm always so red.
I thought it was just your natural Irish charm.
Yeah, ginger.
What is that song about? Only a ginger can call another ginger.
Yeah.
All right, roll it back outside. We just keep finding more too, and that's the distressing part.
That's how cars work. It's done.
You could have a fully restored 67 Mustang and
Yeah.
get it back. We really should start charging people for this. People want us to do restorations. They watch us.
Maybe the service truck becomes mobile restoration business
They
for both
watch
of us.
us on this show, and they still want us to work on the car.